As a person who has adopted the vegan diet, a plant-based diet for almost a decade now, if I was to start eating meat again, what would I eat? And if you are a vegan and on a plant-based diet, what are you eating? Are you eating right? This is what I want to actually explore in this video. Hi, my name is Opie. I talk about health, wealth, and happiness. So this one's obviously going to be about health. So like I said at the start of the video, I haven't eaten meat in almost a decade now. But this doesn't mean I don't get the craving to eat meat. If I go out with some friends and they've got steaks and I'm eating some mushroom burger or cauliflower burger, don't get me wrong, it tastes nice. But before my food comes out, I'm salivating on their food because, as I said, I didn't give up meat because I didn't like meat. I gave up for health reasons and animal welfare reasons, right? So my cravings for meat is still there. If I'm hungry enough, like I am now, I get tempted. But why do I be so hard on myself? Why do I just go, hey, every now and then, why don't I just eat it? Because I know myself. I'm weak, meaning if I have a special day on a Monday, then I'll be like, hey, Tuesday's a special day as well, Wednesday, and there's a birthday coming. It just becomes an endless exercise of excuses. As I said, I know myself, and this is what I've done to just be strict on myself, right? So that means I've made the decision once and it's done. Therefore, I don't have to worry about it. But going back to the original question, not everyone's going to be like this. Even though I've met, throughout this video series, I've given evidence, I've provided feedback on why a plant-based diet is the best for human beings. You might not want to go down that path. Completely fine. Majority of my friends and family have not gone down that path, including my own kids. And that's completely okay. We can still be friends, but that doesn't mean I don't want you to lead a healthy life. Meaning, if you are gonna eat meat, this is what I recommend. And this is what I would do if I was to come back and eat meat again. So to my vegan friends out there, don't hate me for making this video. I'm just trying to meet people where they're at because not everyone's gonna believe your concepts and philosophies and ideologies, right? Therefore, we have to meet people where they're at. So this is what I would do. I would eat lean as I can. Lean meaning lean types of cuts. So if you've ever watched the Joe Rogan podcast, Joe talks about going out hunting and eating game meat such as elk, right? So that's available where he is in his part of the world. Where I am in Australia, I would eat kangaroo meat, Northern Territory, Florida, crocodile meat. Lean cuts of meat which are not manufactured in slaughterhouses where they're injecting chemicals, hormones, and God knows what type of antibiotics are being pumped into these livestock, right? That's what I don't want into my body. So if I was to eat meat again, I would go for game meat or meat that are not going through a manufacturing kind of process, like a process line. Make sense? A second type I would go down is, if that meat isn't available to you, I would go for like the standard grass-fed, animals who have green pastures, they are roaming around, and for a fact that they are in better living conditions than they are in factory farms. Does that make sense? And then the third category, I wouldn't even go down the third category. If they're in poor conditions, if they're being fed rubbish food and they're being injected with all sorts of nasties, they're not good for the animals and it's not going to be good for you. I wouldn't recommend it. I still wouldn't go down and eat processed cured meats as well, okay, including bacon. I wouldn't go down eating that path as well. So anything that's processed. So depending on what your diet is, I hope we can come to this agreement, which is processed foods, completely eliminate this from your diet. And as I said, even if you're an omnivore, even if you're a vegan, hopefully you can come to this agreement of eliminating as many processed foods as you can. So what's a processed food? The general rule of thumb is, if you go to the supermarket, and you take a product and you turn it around, and if there's more than 5 ingredients listed at the back, it's too heavily processed. Does this mean I don't consume it from time to time? Of course I do. Or of course I do. But I want you to apply the 95 principle, where majority of the time you're eating right, you're eating healthy. Occasionally, if you want to eat rubbish food, who cares, right? We're only live once. Enjoy yourself. But I'm talking about every day, day in, day out. If you can eat right, but every now and then there's a rubbish food here, rubbish food there, so be it. This is what I've come to in terms of a happy medium, but you're going to have to come to your own happy medium. Hope that made sense. Now, that's if I was going to go back to, eating meat again, that's how I would tackle it. In terms of eggs, I don't think I'll still eat eggs. I don't think I would still go back to eating dairy as well. In fact, I'm so convicted in my dairy conviction that I've actually stopped my kids from having dairy as well now, because the scientific evidence is just so overwhelming that I don't want that into my kids' body. Because usually I'm not a hard, fast person. I'm try and take the soft approach. And generally in our household, we don't have much meat anyway. If the kids go out at a party, whatever, they can eat whatever they want. I've left that decision up to them, but generally at home, we just don't end up consuming it. Now, to my vegan friends and plant-based friends who are not eating right, and majority of you aren't. And how I know is I've seen the rubbish that gets eaten. It's potato fries, Coke, highly processed foods. This is not whole food that you should be eating. Whole foods is whole foods, whole fresh fruit, whole legumes, whole vegetables. That's what you should be eating. I met a older gentleman on the weekend, and he was saying, "Oh, my iron levels are very low, probably because I haven't had red meat in a while." And I politely and humbly told him, I go, "I don't think that's the case. I haven't had red meat in almost a decade. My iron levels are fine. I don't think that's the case. If you can, eat as many greens as possible. Increase the greens intake, because the amount of greens that you should be eating, expand that by 5-fold. So normally when we think about eating our greens, it might be a salad that's like this big. No, times it by 5. It should be bigger, to the point that if someone looks at you and go, geez, that's a big salad, that's the reaction you should be getting, and that's the quantity that you should have every day. And the trick is to have a variety. So variety of greens, kale, broccoli, spinach, silver beet, gotukola, Swiss chard, lettuce, any type of greens, mix it up and make sure you're changing them on a daily basis, because you don't want to be eating the single ones every day. It's not necessarily good for you. So eating your greens is highly important. The other thing I wanted to let you know is, because you're going to be eating the large quantity on a daily basis, it's a bit hard sometimes, right? If you can imagine a massive bowl. So what's the hack that I use? Have a guess? I chuck them in my smoothie. Have my smoothie in the morning, put all the greens in there and just scull it down. And that way all the greens are just cramped into a smaller space. They get blended, all the fiber, all the water. You're still drinking them all. They're not lost. They're just stuck into the smoothie. Last week I interviewed Forrest Nash, who is a fitness athlete, bodybuilder. His episode comes out soon, actually tomorrow. And if you see his physique, he's been there like this most of his life in terms of the way he eats. He has about 4,000 calories a day, right? That is a lot of calories. And how is he able to sustain that is because obviously he's an active person, he's got a high metabolism, but he makes sure he gets those calories via often a smoothie is a great way, he was saying. And that's what I do as well. I chuck everything into a smoothie, and that's a way to sort of hack getting your extra greens into that smoothie. But obviously, check out my smoothie recipe, but chuck in other stuff as well, such as, wheat germ, flax seeds, walnuts, goji berries, and a whole lot of other stuff. So I hope I have covered 2 camps here. If you're going to eat meat, completely fine. That's the decision that you made and you're happy with it. Great. But I want you to eat clean, unprocessed, lean meats. And as I said, if I was going to come back to the meat camp in the future, that's how I would do it. If you're a vegan and you're happy to stay a vegan or a plant-based, eat properly. Eat properly to the point that you're getting enough fruits and veggies, to the point that it's actually, you're actually getting proper calories and proper nutrients. And then the extreme camp here, who are eating a lion diet or a carnivore diet, like I said to Forrest last week, there's no scientific data for me to be even consider that a proper diet, right? There really isn't. There's a whole bunch of anecdotes meaning single sample sizes, person anecdote size of one. And the reason why Forrest explained this as well is the reason why that works initially for some people short term is because essentially what it is an elimination diet minus the carbs, all right, as well as removing the carbs. Therefore, you end up losing weight. All of the other conditions start to disappear in the short term because you've eliminated foods that might be triggering your body because you're just sticking to the meat. But sooner or later, you're going to get high cholesterol and all of these other conditions that you don't even think of. There's a great Instagram channel called Carnivore Cringe. Check that out. That'll make you laugh and blow you away about how crazy this carnivore diet is. But I'll leave that to the side. Feel free to come at me in the comments. Happy to have a chat and debate on this. But eat well, no matter what your diet. Eat clean. Forget the processed foods, including soft drinks. My God, get rid of the soft drinks. One last story. Might as well. I don't know if I shared this at all. Maybe I did. Maybe I didn't. But on the weekend, I ended up making a burrito bowl. And as a backup, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind having some chips for the kids here. So I couldn't be bothered. It was just too late in the night. I'm like, oh, I'll walk to the local burger place and just get some chips as a backup. And what I did was I ordered them just a kid's meal. I was ready and it came with a drink. And I was expecting, it's usually orange juice or apple juice that you get with a kid's meal, right? So I'm waiting and the lady looks at me and goes, would you like Coke, Fanta, or another soft or a can? And I'm looking, I'm going, this is a kid's meal. And she goes to me, oh, that's what the kids are drinking these days. That's what they want. That's what they're requesting. I'm going, oh, no, not really. If you don't have anything, that's all good. I'm happy to go. She goes, no, that's okay. We'll get something from the bank. And then she goes to me, how old are your kids? And I told them how old are my kids are, 8 and 11. And she goes, oh, that's really good. They don't drink any soft drinks? I'm like, no, they don't drink any soft drinks, right? They're kids. And I'm thinking, we adults shouldn't be drinking them either. And then she goes to me, oh, you're a really good parent because, your kids don't drink any soft drink. And then her 7-year-old daughter comes and she goes, I can't even tell her to stop drinking because that's all she wants. I didn't challenge her. I didn't say anything. I said, okay, thank you. And I grabbed that orange juice and I went on my merry way. But quite frankly, and I'm not being mean here, I'm not being insensitive, but she was overweight. Her daughter was overweight. And what I really wanted to tell her was, you're the parent. You are the parent. The child doesn't know. It's up to you to discipline and make those hard decisions. Initially, it's going to be hard. They might scream and yell. And, I didn't have any of these issues because I said earlier on, soft drinks are no good. Drink your water, drink your orange juice, drink these things. Coke, Pepsi, Fanta, these are not for kids. They're not for adults either. But I ended up just walking away politely and going, okay, thank you very much. But this is the hard decisions, hard discussions that you should be having with your kids very earlier on, because it's hard to remove that once they've got a taste for it. Once they've got a taste for the sugar, it's extremely hard to pull that away. Okay, I hope that made sense. I think that's all I wanted to cover. There was one more thing, which was actually one more thing. If you're on an omnivore diet and meaning, you're eating fruits and veggies and greens as well as your meat, try something. Try eating the greens first, because there's been some scientific studies. If you eat the green first, especially like stuff like broccoli, what happens is it cover all the good enzymes, the bacteria, I don't know what it's called, something in the foods lines your stomach wall to the point that all the supposedly, the bad stuff in the meats, the fats, don't impact you in a negative way as much. I hope that makes sense. This is actually the same principle when it comes to smoking as well. They say if you're gonna smoke, have a few pieces of broccoli before you smoke. But then the doctor goes, I don't really want to give that advice because that'll discourage people from not trying to even give up smoking. But man, broccoli is so powerful. It's insane how powerful it is. So again, if you're omnivore, try and finish off all your greens first, then get to your meat dish, because even the order that you eat, there is a science to it, and you will be better off from a health perspective. I've covered a lot of topics here. I don't want to sum them up because actually I'll sum them up. If you're eating your greens, eat your greens first, and then your meats. If you're eating omnivore diet, make sure that meats are lean. Try and go for game meat, and then the second category is grass fed. Don't go for factory farming. If you're a vegan, eat lots of greens and legumes and so forth. The quantity must be high. If you want to compress that into a smoothie, that might be the better way, but make sure you chuck all the other good stuff in there as well. Thank you very much for listening. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.